I think in everything in life, we should follow the Agile method. We believe in showing people the vision, and we really try to imbibe those core values in people. And our goal is to ensure that everyone understands what our core values are and show the vision.
I think we kind of have come to a situation of like we as a company. It's not ops, it's not PM, it's not sales. And I think any company, if they reach that stage of we, I think then there's no looking back.
In today's world, data is oil. Oil used to be the most important commodity. I think today it is data. You talk about AI, you talk about anything, it's driven by data. Data is the key behind, most of the technologies. So that's where the idea of Google came from.
I've not seen a solution in the market even close to Google.
Hello, welcome back to Odys Podcast. My name is Aneta Samkov, and today I'm hosting Vaibhav, Kakkar and Dawood Bukhari from Digital Web Solutions. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anita. How are you doing?
Very good. How are you?
Doing
Doing
great.
well.
Thank you.
Awesome. So I know you specialize in digital PR and link building, and that's what we're gonna focus on today.
Whoa.
So, Vaibhav, can you tell us what's special about DWS? What are you the most proud of?
See, Digital Web Solutions, it's the passion of people in the company, which comes from the core culture which we have built. We don't believe in pushing people, in the micro tasks. We believe in showing people the vision, and that vision takes the company forward. We follow the traction model. We have our core values, and we really try to imbibe those core values in people. And our goal is to ensure that everyone understands what our core values are and show the vision. As a company, every year we make a plan for the year. We have a yearly plan, then we have a 3-year and a 10-year plan as well.
Oh, wow.
And we meet every quarter to see where are we on our plans, how are we doing, are we falling behind, are we accelerating, what new we need to do. And then every year the management team meets once outside somewhere in an exotic location just to brainstorm what we did in the year. Did we do things which are good, not good, how can we improve again? So the same thing, and kind of realign. So these are the core things which we follow. And again, a company is like a family, right? It's a group of people, and we are 400 plus right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's you have to have things beyond just do this task or do that task. So that's how we operate as a company, and that's what makes us, I don't know, special, but everyone is special, right, in their own way. So this is our way of being special.
That's something you're proud of.
Absolutely.
And the next retreat is coming soon because in
yeah.
India we follow the financial cycle of April to March. So
Okay.
the retreat, he said.
Oh, very nice.
yeah.
Yes, it sounds like continuous optimization.
Yes.
We say in software development, we follow Agile method
Oh,
of
yes,
software
yes,
development.
exactly.
Continuous optimization. That's what, and I think it's a brilliant method because you do a little bit, you see where you are, and then you realign.
Yes,
That's, I think, in everything in life, we should follow the Agile method.
totally true. I used to work for IT B2B companies.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, like the project management standpoint. Yes,
right.
Agile, of course. Yes, awesome. So you started the company while in college, right? And grew at a really fast rate. How did you do that?
So I was in second year of my college, and we had to build a website. And after building the website, I thought, okay, what to do next? And I was passionate about bodybuilding, so I built a website on body fitness.
Nice.
It was called bodyfitnessguide.com.
Awesome.
And after building the website, you have to pay for the hosting, the server, and I was in my college. That money which I had to pay was my date money.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, this is not good. let me figure out how I can make money from this website. And you would see ads all across the internet. And I figured out, okay, there's this thing called SEO where you can rank the website. And I ranked the website and it started getting traffic. But what do I do with the traffic? Then Google launched AdSense. I put those ads and started making money. Great, and I like, it was, I wasn't even sure, if this is real or not, because I could see on Google the money is getting added, but it was not getting transferred. So that was my first, how it all started. And then I also entered e-commerce back in the day. This is 2004 in India. I started an e-com website, Indian Shopping Plaza.
Wow.
So this is almost 5 to 6 years before Flipkart, which is India's first e-commerce. But the problem was in India at that time, there were no credit cards. People didn't have a way to pay online and cash. So now in India, what works is cash on delivery. But at that time, even cash on delivery was not invented. So but then, that website also started ranking in US. And we started getting orders from US. I'm like, okay. And I made a lot of friends in the US because of that website. And they said, okay, what you have done for your website, can you help us do that for us? I'm like, yeah, maybe. Let me try. And that's when I hired my first employee. And he still works with us, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah. And just taught him what to do, what I was doing. And it just kind of went on and on from there. Before I ended college, I had a team of 40 people.
Wow.
And then, after that, I thought, okay, let's launch our own brand. And we launched SEO Next, which was in UK, Manchester headquartered. We scaled SEO Next to almost 25 people in the UK, 30 people in the US, 7 in Australia, and 100 in India.
Wow.
And ended up selling that to a listed Swedish company. Online group. So that was how things accelerated initially. Then after that, after selling the first company, we had to actually, take care of. So the deal was we will always make sure that the back end, the team in India, is handled by us. But at the same time, we did not want to. So I said to them that how can I ensure that we, okay, earlier I owned the company, Digital Next, but now I've sold it. I can't work for just one client, we would work for other agencies. And that's when I met Dawood, and we partnered up to launch the DWS you see now, which is an agency for other agencies. And and we also launched RankWatch, which is an SEO software. So this is the story.
Also, and by the way, what did you study at the university?
Oh.
I'm just curious how this website came up.
It was engineering, electronics and communication. But in the first year, we have computers as a mandatory. So I was studying HTML in that course.
Okay.
Yep.
Also, and Dawood. So, what is your story? How did you join the company? What is your role now? Vaibhav already said a little bit.
Like Vaibhav said a little bit, but
Yes.
I still remember that day. So it has been like more than 9 years now. I still remember that day when I met Vaibhav, for the first time. The passion with which he explained his vision and the company culture, I think that clicked with me. That drove me towards the DWS family, and have never looked back ever since. Before that, I have done sales and business development in multiple niches, not digital. Digital web solutions is my entry into the world of SEO. I only knew how to use Orkut back in the day before Facebook, right? I knew how to, open Gmail to, check emails, but nothing more than that. But yeah, I mean, it has been a fun ride, and hopefully, many more to go.
That's a beautiful story.
So I'll add to this, Dawood, actually, so we have a very good common friend, and he introduced us. And when I met Dawood for the first time, I could see the passion in his eyes, and the drive, the fire. And in any person, other things you can always learn. We are
Yeah.
not, we don't know anything when we are born. We learn things, but the drive and the passion is something which I feel are from within. And that passion and drive is perhaps what really kind of uh, so Dawood did not really have a lot of background in digital, but I had no
Mhm.
doubts in my mind that this will be just the perfect
Mhm.
combination. So yeah, his drive and his passion, and even till today, I don't think anyone can beat his drive and passion.
It depends regarding what. But I think, that can be an offline discussion.
Yes.
Drive and passion.
Yeah, you're both like so customer focused. This customer obsession is really admirable. And I have to say, like working with Odys, like I can see it in Odys and with Alex as well. This is
Right.
probably why like we're partners
Yeah, yeah,
in the Odys
absolutely.
Alliance because we have the same culture and the same values. So how do these values and culture translate to your day-to-day activities?
I think, customer obsession is one of our core values, right? I think every day at DWS, every activity is towards customer obsession, like, our daily stand ups, our, continuous testing happening in the company. We're always trying to understand that are our activities or campaigns actually driving, the results that the customer wants from a business standpoint. We don't just offer a product to a customer or a service to a customer. It's more like, are we actually adding value into their business, which ultimately obviously will give us long term business. So I think, by default, that shows in our day to day activities and the culture of the company. Like every, employee, whether it's at the operations level, it's at the project management level, it is at the sales level, it will be very difficult for you to differentiate, okay, fine, this is ops,
Mhm. Okay.
this is sales, this is project management,
Oh,
right?
very
I
interesting. Yeah.
think, and again, I would like, like give most of the credit to Weber for,
Mm.
getting that model together, the culture together,
Mhm.
from the top, from the leadership. I think we kind of have come to a, situation of like, we as a company, it's not ops, it's not
Yeah.
PM, it's not sales. And I think any company, if they reach that stage of we, I think then, there's no looking back.
And like I said earlier, also the core values,
Mm-hmm.
it's part of our core values. I think that's where it kind of, comes from. Like we really believe in it. So that's the real, like, reason behind why the whole company kind of, has that same vision.
And you're authentic.
We try to be
Yes.
absolutely, you know.
That's awesome. So, data driven digital PR gets a lot of hype these days.
Yeah.
Why is that?
So, see, in today's world, data is oil. Oil used to be the most important commodity.
Mhm.
I think today it is data. You talk about AI, you talk about anything, it's driven by data. Data is the key behind, you know, most of the technologies. And when you talk of PR, what is PR? PR is news. PR is what is happening in the world. And if you can back PR with data, why is this news important? Because of these data points. This is going up, this is going down. This celebrity did, you know, searches of this celebrity name increased by 1000% after this happened. So things where you back them up with data, it just becomes so much easier for journalists to pick that up and publish, because no one can deny data. And that's why, we are really doubling down on data driven PR.
So, how does your approach to digital PR differ when working with iGaming clients that are like
Well,
in particularly competitive niche?
iGaming definitely, is not that simple when it comes to digital PR.
Mhm.
And, I mean, the podcast has just started, and, it looks like Anita wants to get all the secret sauce. But,
Let's go viral.
but, like you said, we are authentic. So
Yes.
we'll try to, explain as much as we can. But yeah, you're right. Like iGaming, digital PR is not that simple because of regulations, compliance, and also not every journalist would always be comfortable talking about that niche. So the approach differs in a way that we have to be very particular in the data we are using for the story. The data has to be authentic. We can't just pick up trends from Twitter, or just copy paste a story, like for example, top 5 destinations from TripAdvisor. It has to be a unique story which we have created through data which is authentic. Now, this authentic data is either proprietary research or data from valid sources, right? So I think that's again, it is true for every digital PR, but the way it differs in iGaming, you also have to take into consideration the compliance and the regulation.
Yes.
And how do you make journalists pick up the story? So the story because as a journalist, if a journalist gets a story where the focus is on the story, it's a compelling story, the journalist will pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
And then ultimately your client, will get a mention because of that research. But that research has to be solid enough for that journalist to pick it up, irrespective of that niche. I think that's where our approach differs.
Also, it allows us to be creative. If you can't directly talk about something, that's where your creativity comes in. You have to talk about gambling, but you can kind of take the route from different angles
Mm-hmm.
to reach the destination. Also, another important point here is data. See, we have a lot of so we own RankWatch.
Yes.
At RankWatch, we get search volumes of over 2 billion keywords every month. So we really can see the trends no one has access to.
Okay.
And our teams, every month they just get to see, we have built internal tools where they get to see all the trends which are happening because of that data. And that is our key power, be it iGaming or any other industry.
Mm-hmm.
The power of data which we have right now is what really makes us unique in the digital PR, data driven digital PR arena.
So, is this how you actually evaluate whether the trend is worth pursuing?
Yeah, absolutely. If something is getting great
Mm-hmm.
spike, like if the, say for example, search volumes of something are increasing suddenly, that means people are talking about that,
Yes.
people are searching about that, and that's a trend. Can we think about stories? And we get like not thousands but hundreds of thousands of trends every
Yes.
month from the data which we have. For our teams, they still have to be creative,
Yes.
but the core, which is the data, is right there in front of
Mm-hmm.
them. They just have to look at that and figure out just be creative and figure out what stories they can build around it. And journalists love it because we are
Yeah.
giving them unique ideas, inputs. We are making their job easy.
Yes.
We are journalists' best friends.
Yes. So, if you have so many trends, how do you
Exact.
actually pick the ones to pursue?
Now, see, one more thing is also the timing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh,
Some
yes.
trends are
Yeah.
temporary, some are a little bit longer,
Mm-hmm.
and some stay more longer. So, what we have done is we have actually automated all the chatter happening, stories happening on like even social platforms, Twitter, news channels, all of that stuff, and the data that Vaibhav is talking about through RankWatch, and it kind of on a live basis gets sent to our teams where they have to analyze that and pick the relevant stories. But at the end of the day, like I said, you can't, okay, for example, let's say Halloween, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing a story on Halloween, it has to go live before Halloween,
Yeah.
right? Or let's say if you're doing like reactive PR, like for example, let's say Trump won,
Yeah.
Yes.
your
Have to
take
be.
has to come
Yeah.
like within 1 hour.
So you have to have it ready already beforehand.
Or you have to be really, really on the game, like,
Yeah.
like reactive, like quick.
Mm-hmm.
So for some of our clients where, we have to do a lot of campaigns,
Mm-hmm.
we actually have dedicated teams just for the reactive PR section. Like,
Okay.
PR in itself has a lot of types, right?
Yes.
Reactive PR is one of it, where something happened in that region. So there's a dedicated team for such clients whose whole job is to just make sure they are looking at things happening and, coming up with all the research, all of that stuff, and the story.
So what are other types apart from reactive PR?
So there's newsjacking,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like for example, uh, let's say Trump won, for example.
Yeah.
So I would use that story, like that news, and kind of, use that in my take on it and, create a different angle on it. Then there is, the traditional data driven approach where you're actually analyzing data from various sources, processing that data. Like, for example, let's say if I'm talking about, uh, let's say I have an insurance client, for example, right? And I'm trying to see how many accidents happened in the US. So I will actually look at all the data sources, you know, from government, from these insurance companies, and even some proprietary, research that we have, combine that and actually calculate, okay, fine, this is the population in different, because it can't be like a general one as well. You have to take those weighted averages, you have to take all of that,
Yeah.
processing into consideration, right? So then you calculate, okay, fine, this is the per capita, accidents happening in different cities, states, whatever, and then you come up with that. So that's a traditional data driven. Then there's expert comments,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
where, you're basically giving your comment on that particular, episode to a journalist. So at the end of the day, if I have to break it down in a simple language, it's
Mm-hmm.
more about how do you get mentioned in those high authority news websites, which are hard to get, and those links cannot be replicated by your competition.
Mm-hmm.
Then you just find creative ways to get into those.
Yeah.
Also building great relationships with journalists, because we are sending them such amazing data driven PR or other, news. We're actually making their jobs easy. So sometimes what happens is a journalist comes back to us saying, okay, I'm working on this, do you have any insights? So it's also
Mm-hmm.
working the other way around. But that
Great.
that takes
Yes.
time.
Yes, to develop those relationships,
Absolutely.
right? But once
Absolutely.
you get their trust and establish yourself
Yep.
as a
Yep.
credible source, that's something they can
Exactly.
come back to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how difficult it is actually to get into Google News because it's so time sensitive, right?
So Google News, Google approves certain websites,
Mm-hmm.
which, like if your website is approved for Google News, then if you publish some content on that website, again, there are more factors to the algorithm as well, but you just need to get your website approved by Google for Google News.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're publishing the content related to the topic which is latest, you and your authority is decent enough,
Mm-hmm.
you can get into Google News.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you start a digital PR campaign?
So, I mean, if you talk about how we do it, right? Like we have a detailed 1 hour onboarding call with the client and a detailed questionnaire of, I don't know, around 20, 25, 30 questions. Because the whole idea of, starting the campaign is the onboarding for us, where we try to understand the client goals,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we as a team need to understand why are we even doing this campaign, right? Number two, we try to get as much information as possible during that onboarding, which will help us then ideate as well. Because let's say the client already has, some research done, or, like there are a lot of factors, right? So that's how we start the detailed onboarding, where we understand the client completely, try to get as much information from the client. Then we do a competitive analysis, trying to understand what are the various trends happening in that industry, what are the various topics broadly that can be spoken about. And then based on that research, we try to find valid data sources. And based on that, valid data sources, we then come up with different creative angles. Now with iGaming, the only thing is that the story has to be compelling, but at the same time we have to take compliance and all of the other things into consideration.
What is your favorite client story? Can you give us an example of an effective out of the box campaign?
Well, my favorite one is one where, because I love Batman, right? We had this client who was with us for a long time. I mean, we were doing link building for that client for a long time. We were doing continuous digital PR for the client for a long time. And the client had actually, I won't say exhausted, but, like it looked like that, they have all the links that they can get in the world. Now, how do we come up with more creative angles? So we actually did a complete Batman family story, where we actually got data insights on how Batman as a superhero is relatable, not only in kids, but adults as well. And then we did a complete story on the entire Batman family and all of the, timeline and all of that stuff. And that story went viral. We
Wow.
got so many links out of it. We made infographics out of it. That was my favorite one. The client was
Yeah.
happy, but it was a very interesting project for us as a team to work on.
And fun one, right?
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
How about you, Vaibhav?
So we did one campaign where um we cricket is like really big in India, and it was an Indian client, and we took like virtual teams. So IPL is India's Premier League for cricket. So we got a lot of data around the IPL, and we kind of made different permutations and combinations of teams. If this guy was the captain and this was the team, like, so uh, just kind of virtual. So in India, what also works a lot is virtual cricket. So we combine the real and the virtual, gave a lot of options around that, and created like not one but multiple stories around different teams, and based on data again, because the Batman A has this record, Batman B has this record. So if we replace the captain of team A with a captain of team B, how would they perform? So things are like, and created multiple stories, and we just dominated the PR newspapers in the country based out of those digital PR stories. Like,
Nice.
our client was so happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. So, how do you actually collect data and make sure it's reliable?
So, like I said initially as well, uh, data has to be collected from a valid source. That is the most important point, because if the source is not valid, there is high probability of the research that you're doing is wrong. Like for example, let's say I do a story and I say that California is very motorcycle friendly or bicycle friendly, for example. Now, if California doesn't even have bicycle tracks,
Exactly.
you know, uh, who, I mean, it's not valid.
It's not valid. Yeah.
So journalists will not pick it up,
Mm-hmm.
because they will only, when you submit your stories to journalists, you also have to show the data sources you have used, the methodology you have used. So I think that's very important, that the data source has to be very valid. Now, how do we collect it?
Mm-hmm.
Various sources. There are, depending on the industry, depending on the topic, you are picking up, there are a
Mhm.
lot of government sources available.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
if you need population data, if you need,
Yes.
accident data, you need weather data. So there are always some government sources available. Then there are also proprietary data that we get from people. Like I told you about the insurance example from,
Yes.
you
Yes.
get some top insurance providers of the country, try to get their data, their research. Then you also do your research. The research you are doing then, it's like PhD, right? You create a thesis
Yes.
or a paper. So every campaign in digital PR, if I actually look at it, it is an actual PhD thesis you're doing where you're actually calculating that data, evaluating that data.
This is a really nice way to think about that.
And we go very deep sometimes.
Mhm.
We actually, so there are ways you can actually query government departments to get data from them, data which is not even published.
Okay.
We go that deep sometimes
Mm-hmm.
to query different departments of different governments to give us data we need. And there are proper processes around this system.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a team which only keeps doing that to get more and more data. Data, like I said,
Great.
data is
Yes.
oil, right?
Yes. So this is
So
under the freedom of information, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, but you take that
Right,
next step
right
where
to
you
Information
reach out.
Act.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Wonderful strategy.
Yep.
So, how do you actually measure the success of a digital PR campaign?
So digital PR will always be a part of a holistic organic growth strategy.
Mm-hmm.
That's very important to understand. Now, if I talk directly about digital PR, the impact we see would be what were the top journalists we got and what was the direct impact on traffic and rankings. But overall, in the entire holistic growth strategy, the impact you will see will be much more. Like, for example, we did this, test where we were doing all sorts of activities apart from digital PR on a campaign. The campaign was going well, there was continuous growth, everything was happening. Then, when we added digital PR, in 6 months, the growth doubled because that was the only variable we added, which shows the overall, impact as
Yes.
well.
You were able to isolate.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Isolate, but again, Google's algorithm doesn't work in isolation. So the point here
Yeah.
is you have to do all the things correctly together.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, your on page needs to be right, your keyword densities need to be right, your
Yes.
interlinking needs to be right, and your authority, which can be built through various ways, needs to be right. And digital
True.
PR is one of the ways. We do a lot of other things to also boost authority, but as of based on what we do, so it has to be a complete approach, rather than just one thing. Like we would not do things in silos ideally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm. So, is digital PR actually a replacement for traditional link building?
So traditional link building, is nothing different from digital PR. Basically, links always are meant to be organic. Links are always meant to be earned. Digital PR is a way to earn links. And, if you think about organic links, a website gets, where would a website get links from? Historically, bloggers. Even back in the day, if a website, if a business gets viral, news agencies would cover it. So I don't think it's really changing, just that bloggers are getting reduced. Bloggers are turning into social influencers, LinkedIn, Instagram. So the real authority bloggers are not as many, although we still work with over 200,000 authentic real bloggers. But uh, because that number is kind of going down, hence digital PR is becoming more important versus earlier. But I don't think anything has really changed.
Okay.
I told you back in the day when I was running Digital Next, we were still doing digital PR. This was like 11 years back. So it's we had a collaboration with a PR company and they would do PR for almost all our clients, um, where we were doing SEO. So it's been there. It's just that it's now, because the bloggers are reducing. People are kind of focusing more here.
Mm-hmm.
Adding to Vaibhav's point, I think why this question, is roaming around
Mm-hmm.
in the industry, there has been a lot of spam lately in
Yes.
link building. There are a lot of link building campaigns going on, which everyone is
Yeah.
calling as traditional link building, which is spam.
Yes.
So, what Vaibhav said, at the end of the day, what is the logic of a link, right? Logic of an organic earned link is that there is a third party website, right? It can be a blog, it can be a news website, it can be a business website, right? But it has to be a genuine third party website. And that is mentioning you somehow, right? But that mention has to be relevant, right? It can't be a website talking about fashion, linking to an insurance company.
Sometimes it can be, but it has to be kind of really genuinely linked. Like maybe a
Yeah.
fashion website is talking about how people can insure their luxury goods.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it
It has
can
to be
happen, but it
relevant.
still has to be very naturally relevant.
Mm-hmm.
But what people try to do is they build PBNs, they build
Mm-hmm.
websites just for links. And Google is smart. Google is becoming more and more smart, um, and that's where all those people, the PBNs, the affiliates, are facing more and more issues to build links, because the traditional methods which we all have seen, which have been slightly gray, are kind of going down.
Okay.
I think also
Mm-hmm.
one more thing to understand here from a strategy point of view is that, you know, your internal pages also need links, right?
Sure.
It's not just your homepage or your domain
Yes.
getting mentioned on newspapers, right? Let's say, for example, if you have a page, let's say we as DWS have a page on SEO services, or let's say a guide on SEO. This is not a homepage. We want people to be mentioning our SEO guide, which is a blog or, like wherever it resides on the website. We want people mentioning that as a source. Somebody talking about SEO, somebody talking about marketing. If he mentions our SEO guide, if that guide is good, I need that link for my website. And if we see that is traditional link building done, but done in a right way. You have to make sure that the website that is linking you is a genuine website. It is not manipulating traffic. There is relevancy. There are so many parameters. Uh, we have you, like using RankWatch, we have developed a new AI tool for link building, which is called as Boogle, which actually evaluates more than 50 parameters internally, where we are checking traffic manipulation, we are checking traffic trends, we are checking top 10 topics of the website. We are actually checking websites against thousands of blacklisted websites to make sure that only that website passes, that is actually a valid and a relevant website for the client. So I
Mm-hmm.
do need those links and digital PR on top. And, I always say, like the PhD analogy, I like to use these analogies. I think digital PR is that cherry on top, which completes your dessert,
Mm-hmm.
and I have done
Yes.
a recent case study
Mm-hmm.
on my LinkedIn
Mm-hmm. Oh.
where we actually, started doing digital PR for a client, and that client was not willing to spend a few extra bucks on digital PR,
Okay.
right? We were doing traditional links, again, using Google, using all these quality parameters. And the time we started adding digital PR, 6 months from that time, the traffic doubled.
Oh wow. Mm-hmm.
But
But the foundation was that traditional link building.
Yes.
It was not just pure digital PR from day one.
Yes, I wanted to ask about your custom AI link building solution. How did you get the idea to build it? Where did the idea come from?
Sure. So, we have been building tech since almost 2013, 14,
Mm-hmm.
when we started RankWatch. And we were doing a lot of, uh, we were earning a lot of links for our clients. Now, the approach was, if we want to get links for client A, we would look at what are the various competitors they have, what are the links those competitors have, and the client doesn't have, and then see how we can earn those links. Now, over the years, we built a lot of relationships. Like I said, 200,000 plus relationships. Now, so it made so much sense to just uh, build a software where we can just use AI to identify what are the sites which your competitors have, which I don't have, and based on our historic relationships, which we already have, out of those sites, which sites might give backlinks to my client.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the idea of Google came from.
So, how is Google by RankWatch different from other platform providers? What's unique about it?
Well, if I'm being very honest, I have not seen a solution in the market even close to Google.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason for that is all the platforms that are available right now are marketplaces where they sell web links on websites in their existing relationships.
Yes.
Now, what Google does, it actually, for every target keyword of yours, it is checking backlinks of the top 10 ranking URLs for that particular keyword. And then the AI gives us two things. One, it tells us if, let's say, these top 10 URLs have 10,000 websites that are linking to them
Mm-hmm.
and not linking to us, how many of these are acquirable? So
Okay.
rather than going after all 10,000, Google will tell me that there is a 92% probability of these 5,000 out of these 10,000 giving you links. That's one part. The other part is how many of these 5,000s do I already have relationships with?
Mm-hmm.
Like Vaibhav said, we already have relationships with more than 250,000 websites, which is growing on a daily basis. So there is a possibility that out of those 5,000, I already have relationships with, let's say, 2,000. So I can start with those 2,000, but I also already know the other 3,000 that I need to go after. That's number one. So this
Mm-hmm.
nobody else has. They're just giving you a list of websites that they have relationships with. We are telling you exactly for this keyword, what is your foundation? Now, uh, because what best foundation than getting those links from those websites that are already giving value to the top 10? And after that, when I get this list of, acquirable websites, Google gives us all these quality parameters. So then we check these 2,000 websites with those quality parameters and say, okay, fine, only these 500 are good enough that we need. So I think that's where the difference is.
Okay.
I'll add to that one very important difference and USP is we are able to tell which page will be the most authoritative page to get a link from. What do I
Mm-hmm.
mean by that? Now, if I have to build link on blue widgets, for example, where should I get a link from? What would be the most authoritative site? The site which is already ranking for a keyword similar to my keyword, blue widgets. So Google will tell us all the pages where I can get a link from which are already ranking for the keyword blue widgets
Mm-hmm.
or any of the related keywords. So, fine, all the metrics, we trust the metrics, but alongside that, Google doesn't know what the metrics are.
Mm-hmm.
Google doesn't know what the DA or the DR is.
Yeah.
But if Google is ranking a page, that's a sure shot sign of authority. So we are also giving links from pages and sites which are already ranking for the keywords we want to rank. And that's such a big, unique selling point for us.
Mm-hmm. Great. So, how is the impact different if you go after competitors' links versus like general links?
So, see, isn't marketing at the end of the day reverse engineering what is working and then building on top of it?
Mm-hmm.
So, we are saying that first, make sure that you have all those links, all those valuable links. So, we are saying that make sure you get the best links that your competitors have and you don't have. And that should be your foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And then make the building on top of it. So we are not saying only competitor links. We are
Yeah.
saying the foundation should be that.
So you
So-
start with that.
And it's proven, right? Those competitors are not just any competitors. They are competitors who are ranking.
Yes.
So
Yes.
why are they ranking? Because Google trusts them.
Mm-hmm.
Why does Google trust them? Because they have the right on page and right off page. So basically, they already have the links which you need to build. And yeah, once you build those links, it's not that you stop there. You keep going, you know. And see, it's a race. Everyone is running.
Yes.
You have to keep running, right? You have to keep racing.
So does the location of the website play a role in link building?
See, location is very important.
Mm-hmm.
So in Google's algorithm, it is important that if you are, say, in Turkey, if you're getting links from Turkish websites, Google will give them much higher priority than if you're getting links from any other geo. It's not that the other links don't count, but the value which a local link gives is much higher.
So if someone comes to you for link building, how do you figure out how many links do you have to build per month and like what should be the budget?
Okay, this is a very interesting and important question because this is a question which almost everyone has. You know, in the industry, people think this is magic. We think this is not magic, this is science. And we have broken it down to science. So, what we do is we look at your keywords you want to rank on. Then we look at where you are right now and we look at your competitors for the same set of keywords. And we see how many links you have versus how many links your competitors have. We take an average of your link versus your competitors, weighted average actually, because you know not every keyword is equal. And then what we do is that's not it. So from there we get a gap. You are at say X, say 1,000 links. Your competitors on an average have 2,000. So there's a difference of 1,000 there, right? But that's not it. Like I said, everyone is racing, right? It's a race. So if we take 6 months or 9 months to build those 1,000 links, your competitors are still getting more links. So we just don't have to cover the gap. We also have to cover the velocity by which your competitors are increasing every month in their links. So we look at the gap and we look at the velocity, we add both, and based on that, we tell, okay, if we want to compete with your competitors in X number of months, we have to cover the gap plus the velocity, and that's how we break it down to science.
And we also check the link signals as well, like, you know, not just the number, actually what type of links are needed. Like, you know, for a particular keyword, if let's say the gap plus velocity comes at, let's say, you know, we have to cover it in 6 months. So let's say the number is 10. Now, how many of these have to be citations? How many of these have to be digital PR links? How many of these have to be niche edits? How many of these should be guest posts? So we break it down to that level.
Yeah, it's a much more detailed process.
Yeah.
I was kind of broadly explaining, but devil is in the detail.
Can you tell us 3 takeaways regarding link building in 2025?
I would say one major takeaway would be quality over quantity, right? We have to make sure that every link that is earned is a quality link. We can't take risk of just going out there and building anything. Second, I would say digital PR. If in 2025 or even for the next few years for sure, you are ignoring digital PR in your link building campaign, you're doing injustice to your business. And number 3, I would say, like Vaibhav always tells us, you know, and this is not related to just, you know, link building, adapt and evolve. again, this is one of our
Mm-hmm.
main core values as well.
Yeah.
But I think, the industry is changing so much. I mean, I don't know what happened while we were having this podcast. Something might have
Yeah.
changed.
Mm-hmm.
I hope there's no Google core update.
Yeah, exactly. Because we get out and something new happened.
My phone must have been ringing like 20 times by now.
Yeah, Google update, unexpected.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing all that great knowledge with us. And if you are interested, you would like to learn more what Vaibhav and Dawood are doing, or you have more questions, like don't hesitate to contact either of
Absolutely.
them through LinkedIn. Follow them on LinkedIn, and don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much for staying with us. We will be back with more episodes. Stay tuned.